Welcome to another episode of the Contagious Culture Podcast. I'm your host, Kyle King, and the goal of this podcast is simple: to help you create environments where people thrive. Through real conversations, practical strategies, and powerful stories, we equip leaders, educators, and change makers just like yourself to build cultures rooted in purpose, performance, and authenticity. Because culture isn't something you talk about, it's something you live. This is the Contagious Culture Podcast. Let's get started. Welcome back to another episode of the Contagious Culture Podcast. We're your hosts, Kyle King and Dan Freeman. And look, we got things to get into. So we're just going to jump into it. We want you to understand that if you're not cut out for business, you shouldn't start one. Like, that's no intro today, no beautiful introduction. We want to really be able to do this hot take episode because we are tired of talking to people that want to start these things, and starting this thing would take so much to learn. Why don't you rather partner with another organization and then just do it with them? I think this generation and this time that we're in, Dan, is that everybody wants to be the leader. Everybody wants to have CEO and CTO and CFO in front of their names so that they can sound good or introduce themselves. And I think it's continuing to water down what these titles really mean and what they hold. You know, I was having a conversation with the leader this morning that didn't know how to integrate something on our website, didn't know that how to manage a budget, like on all of these different things, and claiming that she's an executive director of an organization, and all of these things that we just have to know. And before we assume the title, we have to ask ourselves, do we actually have the background? Do we have the experience? Do we have enough knowledge? Because passion isn't enough, and charisma isn't enough, and your desire to want to make change isn't enough. So that's all I got, Dan. I know we're going to talk about it, and it's frustrating because I really believe that those types of organizations and people are taking away from the actual organizations and people that are actually doing the work, that are actually really strong leaders, that actually know this stuff, but they just don't have the resources to be able to grow. And when we're talking to these people in Growth Alliance and Growth Lab, that know what they're doing, that have a book of business, that have knowledge, that have data, that have research behind what they're doing. And then we have other people that just lead with charisma, but have no experience in doing this at a high level. It's frustrating. Let's get into it.
I think it creates a lot of fluff, Kyle. You know, I had this conversation with a community foundation within the last year, and we were talking about how there's so many nonprofits doing the same thing. And I think sometimes that really creates some fluff.
Mm-hmm.
And that fluff takes it away from other people.
Yeah.
Right. So if you have one nonprofit that's been around for 15 years doing great work, and then another one with a charismatic CEO that maybe doesn't know how to do any of the work, but has a great personality, jumps in, and maybe they have a great network from something else they did. They start taking that spotlight away, but they don't know what to do with it. They don't know how to show the impact. And, you know, not only that, I was really thinking about what you just said. So yes, it creates fluff, but it's kind of like, if you think on the corporate side, right? You think on the corporate side when companies are looking at their competitors, right?
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes that makes you do things that are uncharacteristic to your brand and your mission and your vision. And that may be, well, we were doing this for a certain amount of time. It was doing really great. We were scaling it, blah, blah, blah. But we need to push this other business out, this other company. Like, they're going to try to take our space. We need to do a large event now. We need to spend 8 months of our time working on a large event that is not going to bring us the return that we thought that we would get. And it makes people change, right? That competitive advantage is sometimes not an advantage. It's a detriment. So I think it's really interesting to what you said. It creates that fluff. I think it really kind of makes things murky.
Yeah.
Because you said it really great, and I just love this. not everyone's meant to do it, right? You can have an entrepreneurial mindset, but if you can't sit down and do the work, you're just wasting everyone's time,
I
right?
agree.
But sometimes you can just be a team player, right? I got a book on my shelf I was looking at yesterday that's talking about like how to lead when you're not in the front, right? You can do that from an
Mhm.
organization. You don't have to start your own. You can use those talents in that connection and that mission and your personal mission and reach out to another nonprofit that's doing it great and say, hey, I'd love to be part of what you're doing. I really wanted to start my own. I have these connections. I have this network. I don't know if I'd be a great fit to start my own, but maybe I can bring this to you and we can work together to further your mission.
And I think that's what entrepreneurship is. Like, I just looked up real quick the definition of entrepreneurship based upon like what people say. And it says the definition of an entrepreneur is someone who creates, organizes, and manages new enterprises, typically with the goal of making money. An entrepreneur is someone who has the ability to bring a new product or service to life. And you may be entrepreneurial. I love what you said in your mind, but you may not be a business person. And I think that's the disconnect, right? Like in this age, everybody wants to be a content creator and social influencer and all these different things, but they don't really understand what it takes to really grow something and build something and lead teams and build structures and build systems and go out there and go get it. And when you're not getting it, what that risk really looks like and the consistency that it takes and the depth that it takes in mergers and acquisitions. And it was even interesting, like the level of conversation that you and I have is so good because last week we were talking about bringing on a new partner and like what that would look like, like company structure and having tiers for paying this person out and all of these different things, protections of the business and non-compete agreements and all of these different things that we're thinking of because we've been in it for so long and we've done it at a high level. So when I think about what you just said is like, look, sometimes the best way to lead is to be a contributor. Sometimes the best, and that's what I love about corporate America. And I think I give a lot of credit to what I have learned as an entrepreneur, as a leader to organizations, to the opportunities that I had in college to intern, to working in corporate America, to working as like under someone as a teacher and under the assistant principal, a board member and serving a greater institution, like all of those opportunities that I had to serve and to volunteer and to do all of these different things has helped me understand what I was doing even better. And what we're telling you in this episode is don't leave your job. Don't start a new business, not a new nonprofit. Don't call yourself an executive director or a chief executive officer if you don't know what you're doing. Go join a team, go collaborate. And a lot of these funds out here are honoring and their priorities are collaborations amongst organizations. You see major corporations even today that are merging together to be able to expand their business, expand their reach, increase their revenue, increase their impact, grow their teams. And this isn't the time to be jumping in these waters if you're not ready. And if you have to learn every single thing as an early entrepreneur, then I would recommend you stay in your job. You learn the systems at the job. You leverage your 9 to 5 to really teach you how you need to be an entrepreneur. And then slowly you start transitioning. I think one of the issues is that we don't know what we're good at. Like I had to really learn my gift. I had to learn my zone of genius. I had to recognize my gaps. I had to recognize how to bring people on and how to recruit talent and all of these different things, how to position myself. I had to put myself in the weeds of learning systems and all of these different things and how those things work together. I had to work under a lot of entrepreneurs and serve a lot of entrepreneurs and leaders to be able to become a leader in my craft. Hey, it's Kyle. Sorry to interrupt your programming, but I got a quick culture check for you. How's your team's energy right now? I mean, literally, right now. Are people feeling inspired? Or are they just showing up? See, here's the truth. Culture doesn't change because we talk about it. It changes because we live it actively every single day. And that's what I help organizations do. Build contagious cultures that people actually want to be a part of. Through keynote talks, interactive trainings, and hands-on consulting, I help leaders transform the way their teams connect, perform, and grow. So if your culture needs a little bit of spark, let's light it up together. Visit theculturelab.org, again, theculturelab.org, or connect with me directly on LinkedIn at Kyle S. King to learn more about how we can work together. Because remember, your culture is contagious. Make it worth catching. Now let's get back to the program. I had to read a lot of books before I wrote my first book. Then I had to have a lot of drafts before I submitted my final draft. I had to release a lot of content before I actually started to understand my own voice. Like, you have to put those hours and that time in before you actually just start thinking that you're just going to be in the Super Bowl. Like, you have to go and put the time, practice, put the shots up in the gym, fail a little bit, before you're just coming out here applying to grants and you've been an executive director for a week.
You know, I'm happy you kind of triggered something in my head I was thinking about too. You talk about applying for grants, right? Because what happens is a lot of these individuals start nonprofits and they have zero idea how to market their brand, how to understand their problem, how to understand what the solution is, what they're providing that is different than other nonprofits that can fit some niche need that is not being covered. But I don't think people think this deep, and that is the first thing they do is grants, right? They're going to try to get a grant, but if they have no experience writing a grant, probably not going to be that great.
Mm-hmm.
And if they're just starting it, they probably don't have the funds to go through a course with someone like Yana, right? Who we work with to learn about how to write grants better. But what does that do? That murkies the water. It puts unnecessary strain on these foundations that are trying to find nonprofits that are making these impacts that need more help to do it. It makes things take longer. People lose their passions. I know it sounds kind of crazy, but when all this fluff comes in here from these people thinking, I'm going to start my own nonprofit, I'm going to do this and that, I'm going to fill out a grant, you're not doing quality things. You're slowing down the process for all these other nonprofits that are making an impact. The foundation individuals are looking at each other saying, what is this? Like, why do I have to keep funneling through these things?
Exactly.
And it really just creates like some issues in the process.
Because this podcast isn't one to make you feel bad. It's one to trigger you to take action, though, whether that's positive action or I feel like all action is positive action. We want to leave you with something, though, right? Why are you doing what you're doing? Let's focus on that question first. Like, why am I really doing this? And is me leading this work the best way to achieve my why? Or, because, and I'm going to give an example really quickly. A few years back, I wanted to do a scholarship fund for students. And I reached out to a friend of mine, George Achampong, and he's a financial advisor, guru in the financial space, has made a whole lot of impact in this space. And I asked him a question. I was like, George, what will it take for me to start my own fund, to invest my own money, to be able to send 10 kids to college every single year? He said, it's a terrible idea. I said, what? He said, is it about you actually just being the person that these people are celebrating, or is it more about the fund? I was like, well, it's about the fund. He was like, then why would you use your own money? And it was genius. And it really opened me up. He was like, Kyle, why would you put all of your own money into a fund?
Yeah.
And then, like, why not just have 10 of your friends put up $2,000 and then have them commit to that every single year? And then you just have a fund that you may started, but it's other people doing this. And then you have a board and they're recognizing people collectively. And what that taught me in that very moment is that I often was making things about me and not about the mission. I wanted to be celebrated. I wanted my bio on the website. I wanted the person to present the checks. I wanted to do it and be seen on social media doing it and all these different things. And it was about more of me than the mission. And if you are stepping in spaces that you are not an expert in, if you are stepping in spaces and not willing to invest in coaches like Dan and I, if you are stepping in spaces that you want to really drive your mission forward, but you're not willing to get the education, get the knowledge, get the experience, then you're doing your mission a misjustice. and you're not setting the people up that you're hoping to impact to the best of their ability. So we have to stop being selfish with our aspirations and start thinking outside of ourselves if we really want to drive impact forward. Dan, what you got?
I think you're right. It's very easy to think that you are doing something great and in turn actually creating an injustice for the population and the people and the groups that you want to serve. It's a lot harder to reflect, to look yourself in the mirror and say, as you said, Kyle, why am I doing this? Is there a more efficient, is there a better way, a more impactful way that I can do this and work with people who are already making this impact? It's a lot harder to look at ourselves, to be aware of what we're doing and our own intentions than it is to just jump in and do something. And I think that comes back to what we talk about in leadership, in the nonprofit space, about whether you need help and you should be coming to work with us in the Growth Alliance or the Growth Lab. It's saying, where am I at? Where do I want to go? And what's holding me back?
Where am I at? Where do I want to go? And what is holding me back? Because everything that you allow to hold you back is also holding the people back that you were called to serve. Every time that you're not honest about where you're at, it's you not being honest with what you need so that you could be able to impact the people that you were motivated to impact. And if you're having challenges with answering those questions, come join us in the Growth Alliance. Go to jointhegrowthalliance.com, jointhegrowthalliance.com, and let us help you unpack where you are, what you need, and how you can be able to impact these people that you were called to serve more effectively, efficiently, and at a low cost for a long time. So go to jointhegrowthalliance.com, go to jointhegrowthalliance.com, and don't be afraid to collaborate. Don't be afraid to ask for help. Don't be afraid to sit in the passenger seat and allow someone else to drive so that you can be able to improve the communities, the people, and the individuals or the organizations that you were called to be able to thrive. One of the questions that we always ask on the Contagious Culture podcast is, what type of culture are you spreading? The energy you bring is the culture you create. Go make yours worth catching. We'll see you guys next episode. Thanks for tuning in to the Contagious Culture podcast. If this episode challenged or inspired you, hey, take a second to share it with someone who's building culture in their world. Make sure to like, subscribe, and leave a review. It helps more leaders, educators, and change makers just like yourself join the movement. You can connect with me on LinkedIn or YouTube at Kyle S. King for more tips, tools, and methodologies to be able to help you create this ecosystem of absolute excellence. Until next time, lead boldly, live intentionally, and remember, your culture is contagious. Make it worth catching.